Hi guys, thank you for joining me. I do not have any good news. Today I took 3 different boreholes along with the activity that's happening at Little West Thumb, and I went so far line by line looking for where the volcano might be screaming. At 17:59 Universal Time, which is almost 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time, or almost 2 p.m. East Coast Time, we got seismic signature of the volcano screaming. Now it's currently 5:21 p.m. Central Daylight Time, so it would be 6:21 p.m. East Coast Time. I've been working on this for a couple hours looking for GPS, looking for real-time uplift that could be happening there. So I haven't pulled the files in probably at least 2 hours maybe. So I drew out a map circling the locations of these 3 GPS stations, the 3 boreholes. These are very deep wells under the ground. Madison Junction area, borehole 207, Norris Geyser Basin 950, and the one for Yellowstone Lake 208. Here is a diagram of borehole 207 for the Madison River. Okay, it's got a cement cap on top. The tilt meter is about 80 feet down for this one. And the seismometers are 661 feet down, and strain meters are 681 feet down. Madison River showed the most significant screaming of this volcano. Not even a second of screaming, but yeah, it was the most significant. Here you can see prior to that volcanic tremors. Between 1 and 10 hertz, actually there was one point where it was below 1 hertz. I don't know if you can see this map, but this is the location of the GPS stations. Yeah, there's 5 of them that are not working. This one right here, P71, is for the Madison River GPS. It would tell us if the ground is rising or falling, and it's not working. This is the area where they've been having their earthquake swarm. Yeah, and they claim that the recent earthquake swarm is being caused by water percolating into the ground during a middle of the drought. Here you can see P711, station name, Yellowstone National Park, Madison, Wyoming. When Yellowstone erupted with its last major eruption, this is the location where it started to unzip. Like a zipper, they had multiple eruptions doing a counterclockwise type of rotation, and then it got down to Heart Lake, there just below Yellowstone Lake. That is when the 2 Resurgent domes, Uplift, one of which we see on the Yellowstone Old Faithful live webcam. This mountain here, this hill if you want to call it, is the Mallard Lake Resurgent Dome. This ground has been pushed up because of magma pushing up there in the caldera, and Yellowstone is so big it has 2 resurgent domes. Most volcanoes only have 1. So after the unzipping of the caldera, the 2 resurgent domes, this being one, both collapsed at the same time, and then it had its super eruption. It's got all the details on when it was installed, current status, failure, and I'll come down here and it'll give you a date of that failure. Last month, August 10th of this year. Pretty significant for all the recent activity that I've been documenting. Now, I've talked about the crack at the bottom of Yellowstone Lake. I've talked about the bulge that's there, kind of like the eastern side going through the center of Yellowstone Lake. The uplift that the last document I could find was 100 feet. I'll zoom in a little bit closer. There's the location. This GPS station was installed in 1996, and it too has failed. The date of that failure was June 21st of this year. So how can anyone, even Michael Pollan, the scientist in charge, claim there is no uplift when these very important GPS stations are not working? 5 of them not working. Thank God Norris Geyser Basin, that one is working. Well, good thing that one's working. Last data archived was from today. And we have uplift. Let me make this bigger for you. And I'll pull it over for you. East says they adjusted the plot by 9.1 millimeters. And let me pull this, if I can pull, oh, okay, I gotta go like this. Adjusted plot, 40.0 millimeters. This is the height. You can go across to statistics going back to 2004. And let me bring it up. I'll pull it over so you can see that in a minute. It's going up. Okay, and this is north. Let me pull this over. North, east, and then the general trend for the height. USGS is reporting 10 earthquakes so far today alone in the last 24 hours. This includes one in Victor, Idaho, down south here. So if we take those out, and then this one here, off on the south is Lima, Montana, Hedgen Lake, a 0.2. The largest, let's see, West Yellowstone, yep, or that GPS station isn't working, a 1.0. Let's see, okay, Mammoth, Wyoming. Let's see if I have that date. They said it was a 2.0 at 5:41 Universal Time. All right, there's the spectrogram. This is from the Madison River area. There's the signature of that earthquake. It was actually a 2.17. They didn't downgrade it too much, but a little bit. I'll bring this down so you can see it. 2.17. They have another one marked in red at 2:08 Universal Time. Pretty close to the same location. They have a 1.0. That one was actually a 1.87. We'll look at its spectrogram. Yeah, I shake my head because of the heat that came up, and I'll bring this down so you can see it. See it down there? 1.87. 1.87. I talked about the origin page and how they're reading these and how they're measuring how many seconds that they measure. They took almost 25 seconds of data for the Madison River area. Yeah, and they're saying it was a 0.88. Up here at Purple Mountain, they took 31 seconds of data, and they got a 1.11. Maple Creek, they only took in 16 seconds. But seeing how they said the earthquake was at Madison River, I took 24, almost 25 seconds of data. And you can see the first green line, the second green line, you can count out the seconds, and that's how I come with a 1.87. Now, I've talked about how when they're marked in red, that means the computer picked up the earthquake, sends a message to the geologists, and so they're supposed to come in and review it. So here's that supposed 2.0. The signature actually looks a lot stronger here at Borehole 950, which is the Norris Geyser Basin. Alright, they're saying there was a magnitude 0.6 just above the lake, Mammoth, Wyoming. It was shallow, 2 kilometers in depth. using Google Earth, here's the location. We got a lot of trees that are dying off in this location. It's close to the Yellowstone River, near one of the Resurgent domes. Okay, right up there. Here we have Yellowstone Lake. So Mary Lake, they took 27 seconds, almost 28 seconds of data. It came in as a 1.01. Lake Butte, they only took almost 12 seconds. Yeah, 0.7. Yeah, that's the one they decided they're going to go with the lowest one. And Pelican Cove was 24 seconds. A 0.83. Once again, this is supposed to be a 0.6. So let's go with 11, almost 12 seconds of data from Lake Butte. Here you can see it's in 5-second little increments, and it comes in as a magnitude 1.27. And it was shallow, 2 kilometers in depth. So that is 1.24 miles in depth. That is very shallow. Right along the edge where I drew out in yellow, which is probably not that accurate. But this is an area where they got the new burn, where the trees literally died from the ground up, fell on the ground and carbonized. This is an area that Bob Smith figures when the next eruption happens, it'll probably happen in this location. And that's probably because of the die-off, the heat that's coming up from this area, and more than likely because this is the direction that the hot spot's moving. That's probably why he figures that. And before I end, I want to show you what little Wes Thumb was showing. Yeah, look at them all marked in red. But I wanted to cover, the boreholes, because the boreholes are very deep wells, and they're not being influenced by any outside noise, stampeding tourists, stampeding buffalo, which I haven't seen there in quite a while. But anyways, this is what it was showing. Yeah. And when I pulled the files, yeah, but this is what it was showing earlier. Lots of drum beats. Look at the line of melt, how close that is to the surface. Yeah. Yeah. Everything is not normal there at Yellowstone Lake. This is being caused, supposedly, by water going into the cracks. Not magma, according to Michael Pollan. All of a sudden, during a drought, they got water going into the system, causing earthquakes. Not magma, not the uplift of the magma, which naturally wants to rise. Look at all the drum beats. Everything is normal. Nope. You can go to the thumbnails and see that this is going on across the board, and it's been going on across the board. Now, all of a sudden, the GPS that measures the uplift in 5 stations isn't working. How convenient. Michael Pollan, who's a scientist in charge of Yellowstone, recently published a paper titled Partly Cloudy with a Chance of Lava Flows, Forecasting Volcanic Eruptions in the 21st Century. Talks about how little they know about forecasting volcanic eruptions, but despite this progress, lives and livelihood are still impacted by volcanic activity that has not been adequately forecast. Just in the last decade, 10 years, a relatively small but unforeseen explosion at Ontak Volcano, Japan, killed nearly 60 people. Mentions Chile. Now, I've talked about this Chile volcano. I believe that's the one that erupted after an earthquake miles away. In 2015 was not forecast despite the presence of some monitoring stations and understanding the threat it posed by the volcano based on historical eruptions. Sounds like Yellowstone. Number 3, over 100,000 people evacuated their homes during the reawakening of Agan Volcano, Indonesia. In the mid-late 2017, fearing a repeat of the volcano's disastrous 1963 eruption. But impacts thus far have been restricted to the volcano's crater and upper flanks. Number 4, an unexpectedly violent eruption from Frigil, sorry for pronouncing it wrong, Guatemala in June of 2018 generated a pyroclastic flow that killed hundreds and destroyed a community. April 2018, it was clear that a new dike intrusion or lava breakout at Kilauea, Hawaii was likely, but the magnitude of that change to the volcano's 35-year-long eruption and the resulting devastation of the surrounding community, over 700 structures destroyed, were not anticipated. 59 people died when Mount St. Helens erupted, and Michael Pollan put in his little article, some of the most successful and best documented eruption predictions were for the onset of lava intrusion during repeating cycles of dome growth at Mount St. Helens in 1980 and 86. Most successful and best documented eruption predictions. 59 people died. How can you call that a success? This mountain here is the Mallard Lake Resurgent Dome. So that's all I have for you right now. Any thoughts or comments or questions, please put it down below. I do not have confidence in YVO or Michael Pollan or anyone there from the University of Utah who's supposed to be watching what's going on at Yellowstone. Why have they not repaired the GPS stations? Why is so much data being downplayed? Why are they not reporting on the screams that these monitors are picking up from the boreholes? 3 of them that I documented today. 3 of them on different parts of the park. Why are they still allowing people in there? So what are your thoughts? Put those down below. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your support. Please stay safe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.